The Missile Pistol, one of the most underrated weapons in Helldivers 2. It's accurate, versatile, and it's more powerful than you'd expect. My name is Red Monster Thing, but you can call me Red. And now, let's dive into why the Missile Pistol is better than I expected. First up, how to get the Missile Pistol. The Missile Pistol can be acquired on the second page of the Exo Experts Warbond for 50 medals. And yes, this is the oh-so-controversial mech warbond. Whatever your opinion is about this warbond, today we are not worrying about the mechs, and focusing only on the included sidearm. And the way this sidearm works is extremely similar to the Warrant. It locks onto targets, and it lets you fire away with mostly good accuracy. And just like with the Warrant, this weapon has the ability to fire itself without guidance, making it have at least 2 modes of firing that can each come in handy. Which, if the Spear had this feature, I think it would be perfect. Just saying. But the Missile Pistol is not something I was expecting to be powerful. When I first saw this weapon, I was expecting it to feel more like the Warrant. Which, don't get me wrong, it is extremely good on the Illuminate front, and maybe Shriekers on the bugs, because it's really good at taking down flying enemies. But unless you're really bad at aiming, the Warrant isn't very helpful on bots or bugs. But I was definitely mistaken, and I sort of underappreciated its unique niche it fills in your loadout. Think the Warrant and the Ultimatum had a baby, and then you get the Missile Pistol. But another thing I like to call the Missile Pistol is the Ultimatum in safe mode, the baby spear, or Warrant for bots. And I've heard it also be called Pocket Rocket. It's really powerful when you consider all of its stats, so without further ado, let's break it down. For damage, it deals 1000 damage and 1000 durable damage for its projectile, which, for an explosive, may not look like a lot, but keep in mind this is enough damage to one-shot 80% of the enemies in the game. It has 300 explosive damage, which is honestly a bit wimpy for an explosive, but that reaches a total of 1300 damage for most targets. For reference, the Commando shoots rockets that deal 1100 projectile damage, and itself has 150 explosive damage, reaching a total of 1250 damage. So in other words, the Missile Pistol is basically just a commando rocket launcher in your pocket, a pocket rocket, if you will. It's clearly a good side grade to the Ultimatum, one that in many cases you might actually prefer in certain enemy matchups. Its ammo is where it shines, since it has 3 spare uses, unlike the Ultimatum, which only has 1 spare use. In total, you get 4 uses with the Missile Pistol, and only 2 uses with the Ultimatum. And considering how much damage each of these deal, the Missile Pistol and Ultimatum are basically the same kind of weapon, just with different firing methods. With the Missile Pistol, you're essentially dealing almost half as much damage with twice as much ammo than the Ultimatum. But funnily enough, this is the same ammo count as the expendable Commando, so it really is a pocket commando, and you can even refill it with supply and ammo boxes. In a lot of ways, the Missile Pistol is actually a lot better than the Commando, but it really depends on your build. And one of the things that separates this weapon from everything else is its overall handling. It's got 45 ergonomics, which is way better than a big support weapon like the Commando and even the Ultimatum. Its recoil doesn't really matter, since this weapon fires in single shot anyway, and its guided mode makes aiming at certain targets extremely easy. But without its guided mode, this all kind of flips on its head. While I personally think its unguided mode is really good, it actually requires a pretty big skill curve in order to use effectively. There are so many breakpoints that you have access to with the unguided mode, but because the travel speed of the rocket is so slow, it can actually be hard to line up a shot. So you're left to play a guessing game or aiming at where the target is going to be rather than where it is. And as similar as this weapon is to the Commando, it's actually a lot slower than its projectile. I say once more that if the Spear had this same feature, it would basically be perfect. Slow projectile speed and all. I mean, it deals like what, 4000 damage? If it had this slow projectile speed in an unguided mode, you'd make the Spear have a great skill curve for players that want to one-shot a Factory Strider in the head, or just about anything short of a Vox engine, which is about the same as every other AT weapon in the game, to be honest. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you're on mobile, hype the video. And if you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe. Once I hit 100k subscribers, I'll tell you what my favorite color is. Now, you're going to use the missile pistol on mostly heavier targets. Think Hulks, Chargers, and in rare cases, elite enemies like Factory Striders or Bile Titans. I'm not even sure this weapon should target light units, since it would kind of be a waste of your ammo. It helps in times where you really need something to die, but you don't have the time to aim. I mean, this is a baby spear, but with the benefit of being able to reload without taking a knee. It's really great on factions like the automatons that like to throw you a lot of heavier units, and it feels a little bit overkill on other factions. But I must restate that this is basically the ultimatum in safe mode, which does give you a slight advantage over ultimatum users. Because instead of blowing yourself up or your friends on accident, this thing will rarely ever kill you unless you're inches away from the thing you're trying to shoot, which at that point, you're probably dead anyway. The missile pistol is a great option for players who are too scared of blowing themselves up on a misfire, which includes myself, because I don't hate the ultimatum because it's meta. I hate the ultimatum because I have a skill issue. We're not the same. The missile pistol basically solves the only problem I've ever had with the ultimatum, and thanks to it having multiple firing modes, which you all know I love, I just had to give this weapon a try. And one more thing to add, if you take ammo modifiers like Hellpod Space Optimization, Siege Ready, and the supply pack, you can turn this sidearm into a support weapon basically. But now, let's see how it performs on each faction. On the Squids, this is arguably the weakest front for this weapon. It might do a little bit better on the Appropriators thanks to more heavy units, but it's okay on flesh mobs. And it can one-shot a Harvester in the leg, just like with the Commando, but you absolutely must pray this thing somehow lands in the right way. Otherwise, in many cases, taking more chaff clear items like the Warrant will be better for you, since I often prefer being able to shoot down Watchers with ease. Not saying this can't exactly, but the Warrant has way more ammo, and this faction is way easier to deal with if you bring machine guns. It's honestly a little bit better against the bugs than I was expecting. You can one-shot a Charger of any variant to the butt, though this is kind of hard. You can expose the armor on a Bile Titan and shoot the squishy insides, or strip the leg armor of an Impaler. It does feel like an ultimatum in a lot of ways on this front, but the skill curve is increased. It does one-shot Alpha Commanders, and it overall is a great weapon for emergency situations. I wouldn't recommend trying to kill a Bile Titan with this weapon only, since you'll be basically using all of your ammo. You can two-shot a Bile Titan to the head, but this could just be dumb luck. You won't be using this weapon on chaff, so make sure you bring the proper equipment and gear to deal with the little guys. But overall, it doesn't feel bad to use against bugs. Now, against the bots is where I think the missile pistol shines the most. You can one-shot a Hulk in the eye if you use the unguided mode, and even with the guided mode, it's only 2 shots, so a great way to use the missile pistol on Hulks is to only use the unguided mode, because if you end up hitting the eye, you won't need to fire a second shot, but if you don't, it's just as easy as pulling the trigger again. It can one-shot rocket striders, and most importantly, gunships. Many of you who know me know that gunships are the bane of my existence on the bot front. They're extremely accurate and often very hard to take down, even with useful items like the Commando, which is my favorite AT option, and the Spear Gun, which is my favorite support weapon. The missile pistol completes a build I've been making for quite some time against the bots, and fills a niche I desperately needed to fill. Call it a skill issue if you want, but aiming at gunships with the Spear Gun is really difficult, and the solo silo, which I also usually take, only has 1 shot at a time. I usually bring the Senator on bots, but I barely use it. Now with the missile pistol, I feel like I can comfortably take down everything on the bots. It's okay at disarming Factory Striders, or at least when they are holding still, but I wouldn't use this as an option to kill them. It's great at what it's meant to be used for, which is killing Hulks, gunships, and rocket striders. It's also okay at killing war striders, but now you can shoot their legs with any medium pen weapon, so war striders shouldn't really be an issue anymore. It's about the same breakpoint as using the Commando, which is 2 rockets to the crotch. It honestly deserves the title of the Warrant, but for the bot front, because this weapon is extremely powerful against the bots, and I've honestly felt a little bit carried by this weapon in some games. Anyways, that's all I have to say about the missile pistol. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, and if you want to see more content like this, be sure to subscribe. It helps a ton and it means a lot.